Okay, now we're going to do the next part. Now, in the interest of safety, this petal here is a very bright, and we want that to come forward well to create depth into the stamens. So we'll leave that one dry and we'll paint it separately, just so we don't have the risk of it ending up muddied up, because we want to save those lights, because it's really probably about the lightest thing on the page. So I'm going to wet again. I'm going to wet to this edge there, and I'm going to go right down to, you can see this petal here, I'll put it there so you can see, this petal here folds over. We want to keep that dry. We're going to go right down to here on this part. Okay, so I'm going to wet. So identify where you want to keep dry, and I'll go around him there. I'm going to keep him dry. It's going to be around this part here, so I don't want to wet that either. And I'll take it right down to there, where I'm going to have a soft edge. So around that part. Don't forget not to wet that part there. That's the rollover of the petal. And all of this. And I'm going to take it to here around this petal. So I'm forming that line of that petal, this petal here, with the wetness, if you like. And then this is all wet too. So just keeping this bit here dry, going to this edge and this edge. And then I'm going to leave this outside bit. No, I'm not. I'll go right to the edge. And nice clean edge, not quite to the edge where it meets the other painted parts. So this is all wet. It's wet from here all the way up there, down, forming the shape of this petal here, leaving that highlight open and paint it down to here. So we're going to do the same thing again. I'm leaving this white light, but I'll soften the edge to it because I don't want a hard edge. Then I'm going to pick up my trusty number 8 again. It's a really great size for dropping paint on in a painting like this. You can see how big that is. So something about that size. It doesn't have to be number 8, it could be a 10, could be a 6. 6 is probably too small, but something about that size. Okay, so I'll start at the top again, and there's these beautiful, clean, slightly blued pinks up here. So just look for the shapes again. So I'm going to do a little scoop here and a scoop around here, because I want colour on there, but not too, I want the white in between. I'm going to sweep down there. So that's using basically just quinacridone red and yellow mixed together with the tiniest little bit of blue. Or you could use permanent rose, and which is just a pinkier blue, to go in there. And just look for the shapes. So we've got shapes like that there, and then we've got a couple of little lines down here. So we don't want to leave this, basically we're not going to paint onto those edges. It'll just drift out there gradually. Look for the shapes like so. And then down here there's some light bits, and round there. So starting at the left, moving to the right, like so. So now we get into the beautiful strong colour. So pick up some fresh quinacridone red, add a little wee bit of yellow to it, and the tiniest bit of blue, because that darkens it. So see how I'm mixing it next to the red? It's just a habit. Tiny bit more blue. And then I'm going to go in and see these. You can see some really clear shapes here. And I know it's all wet, but I don't know whether you can see, but now it's starting to dampen off, dry off. It's not dry, it's still, the paper's still got quite a sheen on it. And with that, I'm going to just touch here and see how far my colour goes. It's not too bad. I'll just add a little bit more blue. It's a little bit bright still, but it will dull down, of course, when so I've got a thick mix. Creamy. It's not quite creamy, but it's almost creamy. So now I'm going to draw those shapes on, like so. And I'm going to fill in. See how I'm creating the shapes? There's a little flick across there. Like so. And I'm going to go around here like this. And I'm going to drop in that gorgeous colour. So this is where it's the most intense. Like so. Right down to that line. I've left a little bit here that's not quite so dark. I could lift it out later if I wanted to. Then I'm going to add a bit of water and a bit of blue to that colour. So I'll do it over here. So I've still got that gorgeous colour. So I add a bit of blue and a bit of water. So it's lighter. It's lighter. And I'm going to add a bit of yellow too. If you look with your colour isolator there, it's gone more tanny coloured. So I'm going to add some raw sienna over there. Okay, got plenty of time. We've got yellow underneath, so that's going to glow through nicely. Then I'm going to go like this, sweep right around there. And that comes right around to where I've stopped for the white. And around here. So I've just left that lighter, and I'll go in with a wet brush and just pull that colour over. So I'm just painting around my edges now. So that's the edge of that light petal. And then up here. Then it goes a bit pinkier again, above here. So I'll I'm picking up some blued off pink. It's the pink I used before up here. So it's a cooler colour. And a sweep around the top. Okay, looks pretty blobby, doesn't it? So now I'm going to wash off my brush so it's clean, dry it off. And I'm just going to go around the places where I don't want it to be too coloured, but I do want it to be soft. Wash off and dry off my brush again. And I'm going to soften that edge. I'm going to leave this hard edge here at the moment. And I've just put some water in here so that that floats across there. So that's not such a dry brush. Soften off those edges. So you can see I've created this shape in a really vibrant colour in the middle. I'll just lift off, dry my brush off, and lift off that little streak that comes up there. It's just a suggestion of a petal underneath. And I'll just do another little lift here and a lift here. Now that colour will creep across them, but it'll just give you a soft change of colour. So have a look at that and then think, okay, we've got to keep going here. We can't stop there. So here's a lovely rich colour tucking down the back of that. So just be mindful of the shape that you're creating with that petal. So I'm just creating a lovely, not too perfectly smooth shape behind that. And then that's a rich colour. And then next to it is a lighter colour. So I'm going to leave that, that's actually dried off. I'm going to leave that dryish, and I'm going to go behind it here. And I'm going to use a wet brush and wet that edge to bring that down further, because it's and same here, I actually went over that, so I just put some water back on there. So water will push the pigment away, you see. So, and it doesn't matter if it's fuzzy, it's fine. And then I'm going to come around here. This will be hidden underneath the mat, but it's nice to end up with it all looking nice and tickety-boo anyway, isn't it? So looking for the shape, so we've got some dark in that shape there. Some dark coming down here. Maybe I'll put a little bit more blue in that red. Make it a bit stronger. And a little bit more pigment in that red. Make it a bit stronger. Around there. And then softer colour to the outside in that sort of bluey shade. So leaving some recognisable shapes here. Now I'm going to go in with a small brush, and I don't want this line here to be quite so hard, so I'm just going to go with wet clean brush, dried off, really dried off, and just go along that edge and just tickle it because it's nearly dry. I don't want to put water, lots of water on it, but I want to soften that edge like so. I did say we would come down here. This is pretty much dried out now, so I'll just load my brush with some nice rich colour. So we'll mix up a little bit more. It's amazing how you run out. Here's my blue stocks over here. And I'm going to leave that bit light. Oh no, it's not totally dry. Leave that nice clean negative painted edge there. And this comes down to here. Then I'm going to do the wet brushing again. So I've got a bigger brush, clean water, dry, like so. And then I'm going to soften that edge there. So just soften it like that. And that'll creep over that edge. Then go down the bottom and it's more tanny browny colour. So just looking all the time. If you need to use your colour isolator, look at the colour, and it's got quite a bit of yellow in it, and red, and a bit of blue. So this is where the colour mixing on the chart comes in. If you're not sure, compare. So that's a nice clean edge of that one, and down here. And so that ties in. I'll just put a sweep of that colour in there, just still wet. I've painted that wet onto dry. Bigger brush, dry off really well, and then soften that edge. Too dry. Sometimes your brush can be too dry. If it just drags it, you need to be able to wet it and wet it out beyond. So that's the next bit painted. It looks pretty rough, I know, but it's the first layer. Well, it's the second layer, but we'll build on that afterwards. But you get a lovely soft drift of colour when you do it this way.